All right, we're back. Hello, everyone. So, in the first three streams of this series, we did this generator actually, and I took the advantage to kind of explain the basics of Blender, at least in terms of modeling and unwrapping, not in terms of renderings. And then, like, I showed you some tools, especially in the first 30 minutes in the first video, the link below. Today, we just wanna do more generator stuff because this is part of this scene, which is this dude sitting in this like an empty land where you have a lot of generators. So I need to do more generators. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the one that we already did, and we're gonna copy paste it on the land and make some variations to it. Again, this is part of a bigger project where I'm doing 3D scenes of things that you can see around my city, and this scene represents how like because you don't have your utility provided by the public utility, there are private businesses that are taking advantage of this and selling electricity through generators that are polluting and generating noise and everything. So it's just an art piece. The first streams we did the moped. This moped, it's already available on my Patreon for free, link below. Then we did this building, which is already also available on my Patreon for free, also link below. You can just go sign in. You can grab it for free. There are paid tier membership for $5 per month, just if you want to support, but that's it. Anyways, let's not talk a lot. And the last stream we finalized this guy, and I did off stream. I just added an empty, and I parented everything to it. So now I can just grab the empty and move everything around. And now, okay. I just want to do is I want to duplicate this generator, Shift Z to lock it to the X and Y axis. And since it has an empty, so this is generator 1, this is generator 001, let's call it generator 2. And I'm pretty sure there is a way to select the children of all the, so this is it. If you pick the parent, which is the generator 2 here, and if you, the right bracket, which looks like this, right, let me turn on annotations. I don't know why it is off. Why can I see annotations? All right, now it's on. So if you click on the right bracket button, which looks like this, you can select all the children. And if you look on the click on the left bracket button, if you have one of the children selected, you can select the parent. All right. So if you press and look at the rotation here, it is rotated by 140 degrees. If you set it to 0, you now have, and then if I press the forward, I need to select the children as well. So right bracket, and you can see that we now have this generator, which is aligned to the world. So this is easier to work with. I can take this and push it to a separate file. That would work as well. But we can do this here quickly. So I want to try to create this generator look, which is much bigger. It's a bit different than the one that we already have. It could be easier to just start new, but we'll see. So the trick is if you select any of the children, click the left bracket, and then you click the right bracket, and now you select all of the children because you go to the parent and then you go to all of the children. All right, so let's get started with this. What I want to do first is I want to recreate this front panel. And it's a bit deeper. So this one, I think first what we can do is, let's go back. Okay, so first we need to make sure that we have this selected as well. So shift click, control click, just to be able to do this trick of going back and forth between the child and the parent. All right, so first things first, we want to scale the whole thing up. by probably 1.5. Yeah. Then what we want to do is we want to apply the scale of the empty. All right. I think later on we might need to apply the scale of everything. And let's do that as well. So Control A, apply the scale of everything. It's gonna mess up some stuff. You know what? Let's deal with it later, because here we have some arrays. And once you apply the scale, it's affecting the offset of the array here. So the relative offset. Let's worry about this at the time. So now this generator is much bigger than what we started with. Let's press tab and make sure we have the X-ray mode on so we can select both sides so we can go through the selection. Let's make this off and let's turn off the edge length here from the mesh edit overlays. And let's make this first. Let's remove the N plus control and the tilde button. The tilde button is this button, which is on the left of your numbers. If you have a normal keyboard, not like it's also on the laptop keyboard, so that's fine. So let's control tilde first so I can see these overlays here. So G on the Y, and it could be something like this. Now, of course, this is messing up everything related to the UV mapping, but that's fine. I think we'll have to unwrap it later on. So let's do it again, G to the Y. And then we need to move this backwards like this, even more. You can move this back. So what I'm trying to do is to reuse the assets that we created in the last video instead of going back from scratch. And probably we need to make this even bigger, something like this. And instead of trying to move this up, what I want to do is go to the face selection. So number 3, pick all of these faces. Probably I'm gonna keep this one here. So I'm gonna delete all of these faces and these faces. And let's, now we have a chamfer here, which isn't very ideal when you're trying to recreate things. There are different ways. I can just merge it, so I can like do 1, 2, like I can select all of these. Let's try this out. I've never done this before, so maybe we can give it a try right here. So okay, so you have to merge at the active. So I think it has to be done with each set of edges. So merge at center, merge at cursor. What if we merge at center? So it doesn't work. And what if we, so it has to be done per vertices set. So merge at last, yeah. All right, we can do this, but actually what we can do to make this even easier, since this is a symmetrical object, we can do just one side. Actually, we can just recreate the whole thing from scratch. It would be also as easy as this, but we are trying to learn new things here. I'm not actually really convinced about doing this. You know what? Let's keep it. Let's just grid fill and we'll just chamfer everything. So Control F, grid fill, or you know what? Let's just fill. So we have this closed, and we can later on just buff it like this. Just something like this. So this is the thing when you want to create things on the go, like on streams. So you always have to think about these stuff. So I think we need to fix our geometry here just for us not to get these weird edging that was happening, probably. Let's do another bevel now. Let's just pick anything and try to go down like this. Just make sure that it's behaving properly everywhere, which isn't. Yeah, so that's not gonna work. And that's too much work for no reason. So let's do it the other way around. And this is by Shift S, cursor to selected, Shift A. Let's recreate the whole thing quickly instead of us trying to deal with the bevel. So for this to work, just move this back, which is gonna be much faster actually. We don't have to worry about this a lot. Sometimes it is just easier to delete and redo, especially when you have a hard implemented bevel instead of a bevel that was done by a modifier. So when you do stuff with modifiers, it's usually you can turn them off, turn them on. This is why procedural stuff are much better to deal with instead of going for this kind of stuff. So let's just delete this guy. That's Alt Z. And now what we need to do is just place things as they should be. This should go here. And all right. And the whole thing, if you press G on the Z, move it upwards, something like this. Yep. Now what we can do is go select 3, this face, extrude it out by a little bit. Then let's inset it by something like 4 centimeters or maybe less. This seems like it was 3, maximum 3. Then let's extrude this to the inside, something like this. Let's keep it at material preview, it's more interesting. Then let's separate this face just for one simple reason. I want to go back to edit mode, edges number 2, Control R, add 2 faces in here, which are these 2 guys. I think I want to slide them like this on the X a bit. I want to bevel them a little bit. Control B to bevel them. Bevel them by 2 centimeters. So this is like 4 because 2 from each side. And then I want to Shift D, right click. Now we have another copy of them. Press G on the Y. Move them here. Then I want to P to separate the selection, and I want to select these back, and I want to join them again. I'm going to press Tab, A to select everything, and merge by distance. So now we are rejoining these points, and we can actually remove these 2 guys. So the purpose of having this face just so to have like dark shadows inside, it's not gonna show. And what we want to do right now with this is just we want to add a solidify modifier to the inside. And we can actually keep it as a separate object. Plus, what we can do is we can scale. If we press on the period button, we can say individual origins. And we can scale on the X. It's not scaling on the X, scale on the... It's only scaling on the Y or on the Z axis. So let's do this again. Let's say, yeah, individual origins. You know what? We can do this So let's move them instead of scaling them, just to make them a bit smaller. And then we can move the whole thing a little bit to the left. It's all visual. There is nothing that's gonna be CAD measured, so it's fine. Let's hide this guy. Hide this guy. And let's hide this guy. This could be huge, but that's fine. So let's isolate these two. Now what we want to do is we want to apply the scale, since we already did that before, since we changed the scale. We have approximately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, around 16. So if we say 15 for now, move it up. Yeah, let's move it up, and let's make it smaller without changing the origin. So something like this, and move it up again. And I think we can move this down a little bit. Something like this. Probably less. And this can be also smaller like this. Yep. And then we can pick these guys, make them a bit bigger, and the one in the back, I'll make them smaller. Something like this. Move it up, move this thing down. And now let's scale on the X like this. Let's unhide. Let's make sure these are behind these guys. And let's grab these and push them down. There's a trick. You can press B, pick which vertices you want to align to which vertices. I learned this like probably yesterday. It's something amazing. So what you can do is, let's say you want to move this, you press B, it snaps back to its place, and you say that, let's say you want to align this, but just on the Z axis to this, so they're now snapped together. It's really helpful actually. So let's assign material for these guys. So select the body of the generator, then these faces, and then the last thing, press Ctrl L and link material. All right, it looks good. All right, now we want to adjust the hinges and this whole side because it looks a bit different. What we want to do is we want to assign these to the same empty that we have for all of these. So let's just pick also the empty here. Press on the / just to make sure that we don't have anything else selected. Make sure that the empty is the last thing selected. Press Ctrl P and key transform. So now they are parented to the whole thing. So if you do left bracket when you have the empty selected, so let's select the empty. You do right bracket, sorry, and make sure that the empty is selected as well. So right bracket, shift select, side this. So right bracket, shift select this, / we now have just the generator selected. Now we wanna push this whole thing up, Alt Z, or you know what, let's do it differently. Let's move this whole thing, G, Z, again we do B, from these edges, just on the Z axis, and we want to do median point, not active element, not individual origins. So G on the Z by pressing B. I want to align this to this. Now if you pick this guy, just go to the tab mode, G, Z, B from this to this. So this seems a bit small now, so let's push it down a bit, just visually. Then let's pick these, G, Z, B from this to this. And now what we can do is we can make this actually bigger, like this. And since this is an array, it's affecting everything else with it. So now since this looks much better, but we probably want to make it also wider because it looks a bit narrow for this type of generator. So let's go on the X like this, just visually. The same thing we can do here, G, sorry, not fill, G on the X, pressing B from this to this, and we can just move these visually because it doesn't really matter. And we can pick these guys here. So G on the X, just move it visually. The same thing for everything's happening in here. So let's just select the hinges. And without the doors, because the doors are mirrored, so on the X, just move it. And actually, I don't want to waste so much time on the doors right now because we're gonna be changing these. So just visually, just to see what we're doing. Okay, it probably looks fine. So let's have a look at what's happening in here. So this, in this design, is a bit bigger. So instead of worrying on doing two sides at the same time, let's just remove one side like this. And we can grab these guys here. So let's go to something like a front view. So I think this should be number 3. It's the right view. That's fine. I'm gonna pick these guys and I'm gonna move them up like this because this is a bigger generator, so it probably needs a different process. We don't need to have the doors in here, so let's Alt select. So pick this and then Alt. You have all of this, X, delete the faces, then pick these, then press F. And what we want to do is we want to remove these edges. So select the edge, Alt select, Control X, Alt select, Control X. We don't even need these here, so we can eliminate them. We don't need that. We don't need this. We don't need this. So it's just a cleanup process. So let's pick these two guys, move them down like this. So things are happening here. It's just details that kind of looks interesting, to be honest. So I'm not against what's happening here. It's probably a type of hinge, actually. Yeah, that's a type of hinge. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna steal. Let's press Alt H. There should be hinges in here. Yeah, these are the hinges. So let's go back to this dude here. So let's hide the floor, right bracket, hide this, and hide this. And what I want to do is I want to take this hinge, which has a mirror modifier. I'm going to delete it for now. And I'm going to G on the X like this. It's a bit messy here. So let's hide this guy. We're building a generator right in the scene. So right click, mirror on the X. Control A, apply the scale. And let's apply the scale here as well. Let's apply the scale here as well. Here the scale is applied. Okay. So what's happening in here is a bit different than this. What's happening in here, it's a bit low res, but you can just imagine what's happening. So we can, and you know what? I'm gonna delete one side, all the faces, and then we're gonna mirror it down so we don't have to do the same thing. So let's G on the Y, and this is much bigger like this. And then this is much smaller, so G on the Z, like this, and like this. And G, Z, pick this, isolate everything, go to the top view, G on the X, and then I wanna go back to top view, make sure I'm in X-ray, pick these guys, and move them on the X just to make it bigger. So we have this this hinge. I probably want to make it even bigger, so G on the X, a bit more to the inside, then G on the X, just to move everything back to the outside. Like this. Yeah, that works. Then what we want to do is we want to either Alt D, like duplicate, but duplicate as an instance, so everything you do for one side you change on the other side, which could be a good solution here. Or I'm not sure if I can mirror and then rotate. It's not gonna work. So let's Alt D here, move it on the Z, and rotate it by 180. Then move it back up like this. So G on the Z, like this. And now I think if we right click here, set the origin to geometry, so now we have a midpoint, which is not the case. So instead, let's pick a different origin. So let's pick these two faces here, all of these faces here, Shift S, cursor to selected. The cursor is not visible in the scene, so it is not centering itself. I don't know why. I think it's up. It's centering to the active, so Shift S, cursor to selected. That's not the midpoint at all. Alright, here's what we can do. We can do a different thing. We can pick this edge, Shift D, right click, P, separate the selection. So now we have this guy here. We can pick these vertices, Ctrl X to remove them. And now we can pick this edge, Shift S, cursor to selected. Now the cursor is here, press X to delete this. We don't need it anymore. Now if you get out of here and press Alt H, hide things that were selected before. And here, right click, set origin to 3D cursor. And I'm doing all of this because I want to mirror these guys on the Z, but using this 3D cursor as the center point of this mirror. The same thing here, we want to mirror on the Z using this object as the center point. All right. it worked fine. It was a bit of a loop, but I don't think it was necessary actually. So you know what, let's apply the mirrors, or instead of applying the mirrors, let's delete the mirrors, since you can just Alt D this thing on the Z and just move it down. Now it's an instance, but we didn't need to mirror on this point because we want it a bit lower. We don't want the center point of this, we want it lower. So for this now, all right, now the old generator had this door in the middle. We don't need it here, so let's delete it. And it had this, let's hide this guy. And it had this edge, which also not needed here. It's a bit different, but we can reuse it. So I'm gonna just isolate the selection a bit, press 1 and press Alt Z to make sure I'm selecting through. Yeah. So I'm gonna move this upwards a bit, because here you have a bigger edge, so I wanna keep this. So G on the Z like this. Yeah, something like this. And we don't need this. Maybe it's a detail where this is planted inside of this edge, I'm not sure. But what we need to do is we need to fill these faces here. So just just select 2 faces, fill, and then keep pressing F to fill the rest. I think this is a add-on to do this. It's called fill. I'm not sure anymore. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an add-on to fill these, but I don't remember which one was it. Yeah, it's the mesh F2. So this F2 will allow you to just select one edge and keep on pressing F, and it will fill the rest by itself. So now that this is working fine, this is looking good. We want to add these 2 doors here in the middle, and we want to add this detail here, but it seems that this generator is a bit smaller when it comes to the y-axis. It's a bit smaller like this. So it doesn't have to be that big. Something like this would work, but it has this top that keeps on extending to the end. And actually I have another image for how it looks from the back, so let's look at this now. So let's bring this here. So what's happening, actually this image is good. Yeah, this image is good. So we have this hinge now implemented. We have these guys implemented. Yeah, so this continues till the end. All right. And this is not an edge. This is actually like a U-beam, but we can keep it as an edge. It doesn't matter. So what we want to do right now is we want to, let me first isolate this so I'm working on just one object. Let's extrude, okay, what I want to do is I want to delete these guys since they're just adding more complexity to something that we don't really need for now. So this is like the seam inside. Let's delete it. Let's delete these faces, and let's make sure that we don't have anything else here. So this is select linked faces. It's the same thing as going. So once you select one face, you go to select linked, and when you select linked faces, it selects everything that is flat to it. And let's press X and delete these faces. All right, now I want to pick these guys here. We can do the same thing. Linked flat faces. Extrude without this guy here. Without these, actually, yeah. So let's extrude this a bit, like this. And let's extrude one more time. Here. Yep. Everything visual. This works for now. We can then delete these. We don't need the back. Then we can just grab these guys here. Sorry, I'm a bit low energy today. I'm a bit tired. Summer is happening. Shift D. It's too hot. Alright, so let's go back to tab 1 and make sure that everything is selected. And then if you press G on the Y, press P, you can snap this to this. And the same thing here. G on the Y. Zoom in a bit, G on, and you don't even have to snap anything. You can just do the B, which you can pick a point and then snap it to another point. Alright, so what we have right now is we have this possibility of adding these guys. So let's do this now. So to do this, I think the easiest way is to pick these faces and extrude them to the inside. Yep. Then let's unhide everything. Then let's grab these guys, which we already have done before. Then let's isolate everything. Go to the top view, Shift D, rotate by 90 degrees. And tab mode, which is the edit mode, pick this side, go on the Y like this. Since this has a solidify and an array, so this is just like a simple plane. So if you hide these, you can see it's just a simple profile that actually needs to be rotated also. So let's rotate it on the Z by 180. Tab. I move the timeline, so Alt and clicking on the middle mouse button is actually moving the actual timeline, the animation. I put it back on the 0. So G on the Y like this, and G on the Y like this. Then we can pick this, move it down, and we can pick this face and move it to the inside on the X like this. And let's just change the offset and let's add more of them. But I think they should be also smaller, so let's bring back the array in the edit mode. They should be smaller like this. And they should be a bit more. And you can do this with the rendering, so you can see it lit with the shadows. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so these are the hinges that we don't need anymore, so let's delete them. And probably these hinges we don't need anymore as well, so we can delete them. And this back door I don't think we're gonna need as well. If you have a look at this image, yeah, this door is not necessary anymore. So we can also delete this. But I wanna see what's happening with this detail. It is it's the turning around, so we can do this right now. Let's delete this, we don't need it. Save. So what we have to do right now is just add the doors and add this side and probably some details for the locks. So let's do that next. All right, let's isolate this, tab view, one. So the first thing that I actually noticed is that this is a bit too much. So Alt Z, it's a bit too deep in our 3D models. So let's just bring it inside a bit. And what I want to do is I want to like chamfer it 45 degrees and push it inside. So what I want to, so I think that the way to do that is I'm gonna try actually. I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna Shift D this just to make sure that like even more, I guess. So let's add more to it. We need this guy, and this guy in here. Yeah. Top view, Shift D, rotate by 90 actually, not 180. Minus 90. We don't need this, so let's delete this face. We don't need this face, and let's pick these faces here. Let's press G, B, select this edge and snap it to this vertex. And now all we have to do is just select everything, merge first, just to make sure that everything is merged. Then what we can do probably is we can just merge in the center. So this will create this kind of 45 degree. If we just press Shift R, let's check that we're not messing everything. I think it's messing the geometry, or is it just me? It did mess up the geometry a bit. Or we can still fix it. That's fine. Nope, that didn't work. So it shifted, instead of just merging at one point, they are being pushed inside as well. So the center is somewhere in here. So instead of it meeting here, like extending like this and like this, they are kind of meeting here. And this is why you can see it collapsing. And this is not ideal. We can do different things. We can bring this on the X. So I can say B, bring this to this, and then just do, and yeah. So we can just do this for all of these. So we can just G on the X, but press B, and I want this to align with this. And now what we can do is just merge at last. And the same thing here, merge at last. So we can do this for all of these, and this will create the 45 degrees. We can do it differently actually. We could have done the spin, but the spin will need a little bit of tweaking for the cursor. You can just pick these edges and just press the spin, and this will extrude them 90 degrees, and then you can move them. So this is one way. It's not the best way, but we can just finish it since we started it. This is the thing with Blender is that you can do things in many different ways. There are much faster ways than doing like what I'm doing now. But sometimes your brain will just refuse to figure out the solutions, the best optimized solutions. So you just go on with the best solutions that you have at hand right now. So Shift R is repeating the last command. So by selecting now, I can just Shift R, and now we have this at 45 degrees. All right, and next what we can do is also simple. Let's go to the solid view because this is a bit hurting my eyes, and let's go for something gray for the viewport. Then let's make sure that we are in edge mode. We don't need this face actually, so we can just delete it, and I'm pretty sure we don't need this face, and I'm pretty sure as well we don't need this face. It's going the whole way around. Yeah, we don't need it. So let's press 2, select this, extrude on the Z, G, B from this to this. It's the best way to align stuff. I like this B feature, it's amazing. So extrude on the Z. You can also press Shift Tab, which will snap directly. So E on the Z axis, Shift Tab, and now you can press 1, select everything, press M, and merge by distance, and you merge all the vertices that are remaining. So now if you go to material preview, or if you go to rendered mode, pressing Z, you can see that we have this profile. So the issue now is with this profile that I did in here, it's it's actually fine, but the detail that they have in here is much easier than what I have actually, so it's easier to do it and to implement. So I have this going outwards, but in the actual generator it's actually going inwards, and this is not that hard to do because what we can do is we can just, I think we can scale all of this on the Z and 0, so we can just collapse it and probably merge everything, so it will kill everything in here. And let's go back to solid, and since all of this is selected, we can just delete it like this. And now what we should do is just pick these edges here, and then we can extrude them. So extrude on the Z, pressing Shift Tab to activate the snap. So since we have all of this now, what we can do is we can add 2 loop cuts, then we can scale them on the Z axis like this. Let me see the picture again. Yeah. And now we can just pick these faces, all of them, right click and extrude along the normals by something, and make sure that it is an even offset so we don't have a weird offset. Just delete this face and delete this face. And to make it look a bit more interesting, we probably can, it's not here, it's okay, we don't need to do it more interesting, so it's fine. So now if we go back to the rendered preview, you can see this happening right now. It's a bit more interesting actually. We can bring this back by pressing Alt D and Z and moving this down a bit more. Let's change the preview and move the whole thing down as well. Yeah, that's working fine. This, what we need to do right now is we need to just go to edit mode, press 1, pick any of these vertices that are here on the edge, Shift S, cursor to selected, then right click, origin to 3D cursor, and now we can add a mirror. And it filled the whole thing up. Then we need to close the ceiling, so let me see what's happening with the geometry. Going to solid just to see, because we deleted a lot of stuff and it shouldn't be that hard. We can just extrude on the Y. Yep, just press GB, then extrude on the Y again, but this time press Shift Tab to lock it here. Then extrude on the Y again, pressing Shift Tab. Sometimes Shift Tab is a bit hard to control, so again, extrude on the Y, press Shift Tab just to snap. Then press 1, A, M, merge everything by distance. There's something here that needs to be deleted. Let's just delete it. And now if you go to the material preview, you can see that this is now closed from all the sides. Let's delete this. We don't need it. Alright, so this needs to be a bit wider to match the generator width. So let's go to the top view, and we can probably what should we do here? We should make sure that we know where the midpoint here is. So if we are in wireframe, and let's increase the wireframe so we see everything. So we need to move this on the X, press B, we need this point to be here, and then what we need to do is to move also the cursor, the origin of this object. I need to press Alt Z first. So again, let's pick everything, press 7, G on the X only, press B, so this vertex align with this vertex X. Perfect. Then any of these vertices, just press Shift S, cursor to selected, right click, set origin to 3D cursor, and now you can see that the mirror modifier just updated itself automatically to meet the new origin of this object. And if you get out of here, the same thing we can do here. We can just mirror this guy on the center of this object. Okay, so it's looking good. Let's check that if everything is linked to the parent, which is, so we are fine in here as well. Let's position it just in location. So let's rotate it by -90 or by 90 degrees for now. Move it just on the Shift and the Z, just to make sure that we are building it properly in its place. And it should look, if I unhide everything and delete this guy and control space just to see it bigger. So this is what we're dealing with right now. It's kinda huge. It is huge. So it's a good practice just to check on how things are looking in the scene. I think I can scale the parent and it will scale everything along with it. So by how much is the question? It could be by 10%, which is 0.9, so we're keeping the 90%. G, move it in place. Yeah, this is looking better. So for the positioning, I think we can even push it a bit here, just so we can see the building more. So G on the Y, I guess. Something like this. An overlap is fine, probably. So probably something like this. Then we just need to move the supporting wall a bit. So G on the Y. Oh, this everything. G on the Y. I think I can scale it a bit more. Let's scale it a bit less. Yeah, 0.85. Yeah, that's looking much better. And if you go to the rendered preview, you can see it fit in space. Of course, the colors will look different. It's not gonna look like this. Probably it has some joints in here, which makes it looks a bit more interesting as well. Also, this is not the detail that I want to go with for this one, because this looks a bit different. I don't know if I want to add the doors now, because they're probably not gonna show in any of my views, but I think I'm gonna just add them because they're gonna look a little bit from the side. Let's just increase the array here. I'm pretty sure that the scale messed this thing up. Or maybe it was like this, I'm not sure. Yeah, I didn't apply the scale yet, so it doesn't have to do with the scale, yeah. All right, we're almost there. You can see here that the exhaust is something like this. It's going out of this. Let's check it from the other view to see what's happening. Yeah. So you can see it's just going directly out of the generator. It doesn't have like a silent box or anything. We can do that. Let's just do that right now. Or there's another detail that also looks interesting. I'm not sure if it looks good here. Some generators have this, and this is like the silencer or something, and this is just going up. So I just want to see this in view actually. So it is something that looks like this, instead of just a pipe coming towards the view. I think this detail is a bit more interesting. So let's do that. So it's a simple detail actually. Just look at it. All right, so there is a big box here, and this is coming out of it and then turning up. So it's made out of a couple of parts. All right, so let's bring back this box. Let's delete. Let's keep this actually. Let's delete this one since we already have this. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to hide this, hide this, and hide this, and hide these, and hide this one. Go to solid just so I can see a bit better. And now we want to position this to be somewhere here. And let's make it bigger. I think this is on the X. Let's put this somewhere here in the middle. Can we just push this out without recreating it? So G on the X, like this. Yeah, we can just do this. We don't need these edges actually, so let's Control X. Yeah, that's working fine. Now all we have to do is save first, Shift D, recreate, take this, go to edit mode, select everything, collapse, not by distance actually, just at the center. So we end up with just a vertex. Where is this vertex? Yeah, just this vertex. So only have a vertex here. And extrude it up, extrude it on the Y, extrude it on the Z, then extrude again on the Y, then on the Z by a bit. Just looking at the reference. Then all we have to do is to position it where it wanna revolve around the pivot point of itself. So just something like this. Yeah, probably something like this. And then all we have to do is go back to the modifiers and add the screw modifier. All right, we need to move it on the X somewhere here, just to match the alignment of the position of the pivot point. So G on the X here. We can add some more resolution here. Scale the whole thing down a bit. This isn't ideal. If you want more accuracy, you would need to make sure that the pivot point is aligned perfectly with the vertices and everything is working together. I'm not really concerned with all of these now. You maybe need to in your projects, I'm not sure. That's up to you. There are different ways of abiding by all of these stuff. It is looking a bit small in terms of point of view. So G on the Z like this, then pick these 2 points, and G on the Y like this, G on the Y a bit, this on the Z, then this on the Z, and we don't need this guy here. Let's delete it. It's just too much information. This is here. So if you go back to the rendered view, Alt H to unhide everything. It is looking interesting, actually. It's looking nice. It could be bigger. Honestly, it could be bigger. So what we should do here is just go back to the solid view with the wireframe. The solid view looks like this because I'm on the flat. I can choose a matcap if I want to have a different view. I should have my phone on silent, but I forgot actually, so. It is a bit tiring today. So we want to change this to the active element. So I'm scaling from the last element pivot point. So I'm gonna scale this up a bit. And I think I'm gonna go back to the flat. It's fine. So this is looking good. Let's move this thing down. Let's have a look at the reference images. They have supports here. If you see, they have like these 2 or 3 metal elements, and you have something in here actually as well. Some of them have, some of them doesn't. It could be like a good detail. I'm not sure. I don't mind it. Let's check my phone. Put it on silent. Okay, it's actually easy to add these 2 elements here. So first, let's hide these buildings. We don't need them. All right. Just make sure to have this kind of fitting in here. Now what I want to do is I want to go into edit mode, pick this vertex, Shift S, cursor to selected. And you know what? Actually, I can do it easier. Instead of creating a mesh like I'm trying to do right now, what I can do, I can duplicate this thing, right click to delete this duplicate, to not move it, not to delete it. Control tab, remove the screw modifier. So what I end up with is the original profile. Then let's move it a bit on the Y. Then let's just manipulate this a bit. Instead of having these 2 vertices, we can delete them. Delete the vertices. We can fill these 2 edges. And we can select everything, merge by distance. I think we can extrude this. Yep. On the X. And then we can fill the faces. So we end up with a piece of geometry that is located right where we want it to be on the Y. I think we can scale this thing on the X a bit. So the thing is not scaling, it's scaling just for one side because it's set to active element, but that's fine, I don't really care. It's looking weird because for some reason it snapped in a weird way. That's fine, that's G on the Y, Shift Tab. What's happening? So now everything is looking fine, but for me it kind of looks tilted. Well, it does, it's not, so that's fine. Let's just move it in place. Where did this guy go? Oh, so I pressed the buttons that you don't want to press when you are in object mode are the numbers buttons, because they invoke the view layers and it's hell on earth. I probably should Google a solution for this. So just moving this here, then I'm gonna just mirror it on this guy. Save. And that's probably it for now. Let's add the doors just because we can. Why not? So let's pick the parent. Then let's pick the children. Isolate. So this is looking good. The doors are not hard to do actually. So let's just add them quickly. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 4 points, four edges actually. And then we need to pick the center edges and push them next to each other, but on the medium point instead of the active elements. So push them closer like this. We don't want them to flip, so just make sure that the active element is on the right. Just keep it on the right. We don't want our geometry to flip. That will create some weird behaviors. I want to have a look at the doors from the different point of view, because here they look much clearer actually. They have this kind of hinge as well. It's fine. I don't think I'm gonna add the hinges in this stream. So let's just push this away. Pick these guys on the X somewhere here. And it should be somewhere here. And so I'm just setting the heights of these doors. And this should be somewhere here. So these are the doors actually right now. They're somewhere like this. Yeah. But we can probably move these a bit like this. And we can also move the whole thing a bit to the right. Yeah, that looks better. So now if you go to the rendered view, control space, unhide everything, object mode, Alt Shift S to remove all the overlays, Alt Shift Z, sorry. Yeah, it's looking good. If we ever need to look at it from this side, I'll probably develop it even further. Anyways, that's it for today. Again, sorry for a little bit low energy. I'm a bit tired. Sorry about that. But I'm trying to stream every day just to keep this momentum going. Thank you very much. There's one viewer that stuck the whole stream. Thank you very much. I don't know who you are, but you're amazing. See you next time.